Chosen one, have you ever felt the cold hand of betrayal from someone you trusted for decades? Have you looked across your kitchen table and realized the person sitting there has become a stranger wearing a familiar face? Have you wondered why your prayers for restoration keep echoing back empty, why God stays silent when you beg Him to fix what's broken? Stop! Right where you are. Something is shifting over your life this November, and heaven will not let you walk into the next season carrying the wrong person. I know why you're here. I know what woke you up at 3 a.m. last Tuesday. I know about the phone call that never came on your birthday. I know about the adult child who's too busy, the friend who disappeared when the diagnosis came, the family member who only shows up when they need something. You've been carrying them for years, haven't you? Praying for them, making excuses for them, bleeding yourself dry, hoping they'll finally see your worth. But chosen one, at the end of November, mark this on your calendar, God Himself will cut away one person, not out of cruelty, out of protection, like a surgeon removing the last infection before it kills you, like a master gardener pruning the final diseased branch before spring comes. You think you're losing someone, but what if you're actually being freed from the weight that's been crushing your final years? Before we go deeper, I want to pause and thank every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating. You're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your support, your time, your attention, it all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead and plant that seed of faith. But hear me clearly, this November removal isn't random, it's surgical, it's prophetic. It's the answer to prayers you stopped praying because you thought God forgot. Why November? Why you? Why now when you're in your 70s, 80s, when you thought your relational battles were over? Because God locks doors with His own hand. And when He closes what He closes, no force in hell can pry it open again. If something in your spirit is already stirring, if you feel that holy unrest, that divine confirmation, comment right now, I'm listening, Lord. Let heaven mark your agreement. Let the angels record that you heard the warning before the door swung shut. Because what I'm about to reveal will explain everything. The decades of dysfunction, the years of one-sided love, the exhaustion of carrying someone God never asked you to carry. The separation is coming. But first, you need to understand why. Why does betrayal always come from someone close? Why do the deepest wounds carry the names of people you loved most? Why has God allowed you to carry dead weight for decades, only to cut the cord now, when you thought the hard years were behind you? Because chosen one, what's coming in your life is too sacred for contaminated company. Listen to me carefully. You've lived long enough to know this truth. Not every friend is a friend. Not every family member is safe. You've watched people smile at your table while poisoning your peace behind your back. You've given second chances that turned into 20th chances. You've made excuses for behavior that younger people would have walked away from years ago. But you stayed. Why? Because at 70, at 80, at your age, who wants to start over? Who has the energy to rebuild relationships, to explain themselves again, to risk the loneliness that comes with setting boundaries? God heard that whisper, and He's about to answer it in the most unexpected way. Before elevation, God removes contamination. This isn't cruelty, this is divine strategy. And if you look at Scripture with honest eyes, you'll see this pattern written across every major calling, every destiny shift, every moment when heaven said, "Now you're ready." Think about Abraham. Genesis 13 tells us he had to separate from Lot, his own nephew, his traveling companion, his family. They'd walked together through famine, through foreign lands, through years of uncertainty. But when the time came for Abraham to step into his full inheritance, God said, "Let there be no strife between you and him. We must separate." Why? Because Lot's herdsmen were causing division. Because Lot's choices would eventually lead him to Sodom. because Abraham couldn't carry both his calling and his cousin's chaos. The separation wasn't rejection, it was protection. Look at Joseph. His own brothers sold him into slavery. Genesis 37 records their hatred, their jealousy, their plot to kill him. For 13 years, Joseph suffered because of family betrayal. But here's what breaks my heart and heals it at the same time. God used that separation to position Joseph as second in command of Egypt. The very brothers who meant it for evil, God meant it for good. Genesis 50-20 becomes Joseph's testimony. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. The removal wasn't punishment, it was promotion. Even Jesus, the Son of God himself, had to separate from Judas. For 3 years, Judas walked with him, ate with him, witnessed miracles beside him. But John 13:27 tells us that after Judas took the bread, Satan entered him. And Jesus said, "What you are about to do quickly." Jesus didn't beg Judas to stay. He didn't chase him, he let him go. Because the cross couldn't be delayed by a contaminated connection. The departure wasn't failure, it was fulfillment of destiny. Paul and Barnabas, 2 men who'd planted churches together, who'd faced persecution side by side, they separated in Acts 15:39 because of a sharp disagreement. The Bible doesn't sugarcoat it. It says, they had such a sharp disagreement that they parted company. And you know what happened? Instead of 1 missionary team, there were now 2. The kingdom expanded because of the separation. Do you see the pattern, beloved? God is not afraid to remove people from your life when their presence threatens your purpose. He's not sentimental about relationships that have expired. He's surgical. He's strategic. He's a shepherd, separating sheep from wolves wearing wool. And right now, this November, he's looking at your life with the eyes of a master gardener. He sees the diseased branch that's been draining your strength. He sees the relationship that's been sucking life from your roots. He sees the person who's been there for years but has never truly been for you. You've tolerated it because you're tired, because you've already lost so many people to death, to distance, to time, because at your age every goodbye feels heavier, because you told yourself, it's not worth the fight anymore. I'll just keep the peace until I die. But God says, I'm not asking you to fight. I'm doing the removal myself. And I'm not waiting until you die. I'm starting you over for you. This is why you felt that quiet nudge all year, that gentle prompting to step back, that holy unrest when their name appears on your phone, that exhaustion after every conversation. You thought it was just you being bitter, being unforgiving, being difficult in your old age. No, dear one, that was God preparing you for the separation. He's been planning since January. The person he's removing may not be who you expect. It might not be the obvious toxic relative. It might be the friend everyone thinks is wonderful. It might be the family member who looks good on paper, but has slowly been draining your peace in private. It might even be someone you've been praying for, and God's answer to your prayer is removal, not restoration. Because sometimes the healing comes through the ending. If you've felt that nudge this year, if you've sensed God quietly closing a door that your heart kept trying to reopen, type right now, I felt that. Let heaven see your honesty. Let the angels record that you're finally ready to release what God has already removed in the spirit. But here's what you need to understand before we go any deeper. This November separation isn't just about who's leaving, it's about who's coming. And what I'm about to show you next will explain why God had to clear the seat before he could send the right person to fill it. Listen to me carefully, chosen one. November is not just another month on your calendar. It never has been. You've felt it, haven't you? That strange heaviness that settles over everything when October fades and the leaves start falling. That cold morning air that makes you pull your coat tighter and think about people who are no longer here. That quietness, not peaceful, but loaded, like the world is holding its breath, waiting for something to shift. November has always been a month of endings, a month when God finishes what he started, A month when heaven prunes dead branches before December's blessing can flow. And this November, dear one, this November is different. This is the spiritual hinge between who you've been and who you're becoming. And heaven will not let you cross that threshold carrying the wrong person. You want to know why God chose November? Let me show you something that will shake you to your core. Turn with me to Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven. Not just any time, the appointed time. The Kairos moment when eternity breaks into your calendar and says, enough. For 70, 80, maybe 90 years, you've been waiting for certain people to change. You've been hoping that toxic daughter-in-law would soften. You've been praying that distant son would finally call. You've been believing that critical sibling would see your worth. You've been carrying them through holidays, through health scares, through the loneliest seasons of your life, bleeding yourself dry on the altar of but their family. But here's what breaks my heart, and here's what should terrify you. What if the very person you've been fighting to keep is the exact person God has been trying to remove? What if your prayers for reconciliation have been blocking His plan for your liberation? Think about it. How many Novembers have you spent sitting at a table with someone who makes you feel invisible? How many Thanksgiving dinners have you survived, not enjoyed, survived pretending everything's fine while your soul screams that something is deeply wrong? How many times have you looked at your phone in late November, hoping for a message from someone who's made it clear you don't matter? God sees it all, every forced smile, every swallowed hurt, every time you've minimized your pain to keep the peace. And He's saying, no more. November carries a frequency that other months don't. The days grow shorter, the nights grow longer, the cold strips everything down to what's essential. And in that stripping, God does His deepest work. He removes the excess. He cuts away the dead weight. He separates what was from what will be. At the end of November, heaven will intervene even if you resist, even if you beg Him not to, even if you think you can't survive losing this person. Because God loves you too much to let you waste your final years on someone who's slowly killing your spirit. You know who I'm talking about, don't you? That name just flashed through your mind, that face you saw, that relationship that makes you tired just thinking about it. There is one person heaven has been trying to remove for years. You felt the warning signs. The Holy Spirit has been whispering, let them go. Your peace evaporates when they're around. Your joy drains when they call. Your health declines under the stress of managing their dysfunction. But you've held on, out of obligation, out of guilt, out of fear that losing them means you failed. But chosen one, here's the truth that will set you free. Sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is let God close a door you've been desperately trying to hold open. Look at what Jesus said in Matthew chapter 18, verse 8. If your hand or your foot causes you to stumble, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to enter life maimed or crippled than to have 2 hands or 2 feet and be thrown into eternal fire. Cut it off, not gradually distance yourself, not slowly create boundaries. Cut it off. You think that's harsh? You think that's unloving? Then you don't understand what's at stake. Because that person isn't just draining your energy, they're blocking your destiny. They're not just exhausting you, they're suffocating the final assignment God has for your life. They're not just difficult, they're dangerous to everything heaven is trying to birth in you before you leave this earth. This November is your cutoff point. Not next year, not when you feel ready, not when they finally change. November, the month when long shadows force you to see what you've been avoiding. The month when cold mornings make your soul reflective enough to hear what God has been shouting. The month when heaven quiets the world, so you can finally hear Him say, I'm removing them for you, because I love you. If you've felt spiritual heaviness this November, if something has been pressing on your chest, if you've been more exhausted than usual, if you've been grieving something that hasn't happened yet, say it right now. I've felt the shift. Let heaven know you recognize what's coming. Because the separation isn't the tragedy, beloved. The tragedy is spending your final years imprisoned by someone God already sentenced to removal. But here's what you need to understand before this door closes forever. You're not losing them randomly. There's a reason, a divine reason. And when you understand who this person really is, when you see what heaven has been protecting you from, you'll fall to your knees in gratitude that God loved you enough to make this cut. Listen to me very carefully, chosen one. What I'm about to tell you will cut straight through the fog you've been living in. The person God is removing from your life at the end of November, they don't wear a villain's mask. They don't announce themselves as your enemy. In fact, they might be sitting at your Thanksgiving table next week, smiling, passing the potatoes, while their presence slowly suffocates your spirit. Let me paint you a picture you'll recognize immediately. This person drains you. Every conversation with them feels like running a marathon uphill. You hang up the phone and need to lie down. You leave their presence and your chest feels tight, your mind racing, your peace shattered. They don't energize you, they extract from you, like a spiritual vampire feeding on your light, while giving nothing but darkness in return. They only come close when they need something. Funny how they remember your number when their rent is due, when they need a babysitter, when their crisis demands your attention. But where were they on your birthday? Where were they when you buried your husband? Where were they during your surgery recovery? Silent, absent, vanished like morning fog. Here's what breaks my heart about you, dear one. You've been making excuses for them for so long, you've forgotten what peace feels like. You tell yourself, well, that's just how they are. You rationalize their cruelty as personality quirks. You've become a professional apologist for someone who wouldn't cross the street to comfort you. But your body knows the truth even when your mind denies it. Your anxiety spikes when their name appears on your phone. Your stomach knots when you know you'll see them at family gatherings. You find yourself rehearsing conversations, preparing defenses, building emotional walls just to survive their presence. That's not love, beloved. That's warfare. They've mastered the dark art of mixing kindness with manipulation. One moment they're sweet, the next they're slicing you with words designed to wound. They give with one hand and guilt trip with the other. After all I've done for you becomes their favorite weapon. They keep score. They hold grudges. They remind you of every favor, like it's a debt you can never repay. And God forbid you try to set a boundary. The moment you say no, the moment you choose yourself, they transform. Suddenly you're selfish, you're cold, you're ungrateful. They become the victim of your cruelty when all you did was refuse to bleed for them one more time. Proverbs 25:19 says it plainly. Confidence in an unfaithful man in time of trouble is like a broken tooth and a foot out of joint. You've been limping through life because you keep putting weight on someone who was never meant to carry you. You've been chewing on broken teeth, wondering why nothing nourishes you. Here's what the Holy Spirit is revealing right now. They apologize, but nothing changes. How many times have you heard "I'm sorry" followed by the exact same behavior? Their repentance has no fruit. Their promises have no power. They say what you need to hear to keep you hooked, but their actions tell the truth their mouths refuse to speak. Most devastatingly, they stand between you and what God wants to give you. Every time you're about to step into breakthrough, they create a crisis. Every time peace descends on your life, they manufacture drama. Every time God opens a door for you, they whisper reasons why you shouldn't walk through it. They've become the human blockade to your divine destiny. 2 Timothy 3-5 warns us about people who have a form of godliness but denying the power thereof. From such turn away. They might quote scripture, they might sit in church, but their fruit is rotten. And you've been eating poison, telling yourself it's sustenance. Now hear this truth that will shatter everything. God doesn't remove people to punish you. He removes them because they were punishing your spirit. Every day they remained in your life, a piece of you died. Your joy, your hope, your faith, your peace. They were slowly killing what God needed alive in you. But here's the shocking part that's about to hit you like lightning. This person may be someone you love. This might be your adult child who treats you like an ATM. This might be your sibling who's jealous of every blessing you receive. This might be your oldest friend who's become your greatest critic. This might even be the relative who raised you, but now suffocates you with control disguised as concern. You feel it right now, don't you? A face just flashed across your mind. A name just echoed in your spirit. That tightness in your chest isn't anxiety, it's recognition. The Holy Spirit just confirmed what you've known for years but were too afraid to admit. They have become a shadow over your sunrise. You were meant to walk into your final years glowing with God's glory, but they've kept you in darkness. They've been a weight on your chest instead of wind in your wings. And God is saying, enough. I'm cutting the cord. I'm unlocking the chain. I'm removing the obstacle between you and your promised land. If the Holy Spirit just revealed a face to you, if you know exactly who this is, write in the comments right now. I see it now. Don't deny what God just exposed. Don't rationalize what heaven just confirmed. Because what happens next will determine whether you enter December free or remain imprisoned by someone who was never supposed to have this much power over your peace. Listen to me carefully, chosen one. What I'm about to tell you might sting at first, but it will set you free. That person God is removing from your life, they're not leaving because they're bad people. They're leaving because they're blocking your blessings. And there's a difference between someone who struggles alongside you and someone who suffocates your destiny. Think about it. How many times have you been on the verge of breakthrough? You felt it in your spirit. You could almost taste it. And then that person called. That person showed up. That person created just enough chaos, just enough drama, just enough emotional wreckage to derail everything God was building. You told yourself it was coincidence. But beloved, there are no coincidences in the kingdom. That was spiritual interference. Proverbs 13:20 warns us plainly. Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. The word suffers in Hebrew means to be broken, to be shattered, to be crushed. God isn't being poetic here. He's being surgical. He's telling you that wrong associations don't just slow you down, they break you down. And you've been broken down long enough. You know what breaks my heart? When I see a 75-year-old woman still making excuses for a 50-year-old son who only calls when he needs bail money. When I watch an 82-year-old father still trying to earn love from a daughter who weaponizes her children against him. When I meet a grandmother who's spent her entire social security check on a grandchild's emergency for the 6th time this year while she eats canned soup alone. You've lived too long and survived too much to keep carrying someone who was never meant to walk into your final, most powerful season. But here's what you need to understand about toxic people in your life. They don't just drain your wallet, they drain your discernment. They fog up your spiritual vision so thick you can't hear God's voice anymore. You spend so much mental energy managing their dysfunction, predicting their next crisis, bracing for their next betrayal, that you have nothing left for the divine assignments. Heaven is trying to download into your spirit. 2 Timothy 3-5 describes these people perfectly. Having a form of godliness but denying its power. They show up at church. They quote scripture. They might even pray with you. But something's wrong. Something's always been wrong. They perform spirituality, but they possess no transformation. And worse, they resent yours. This is why you feel exhausted after every conversation with them. This is why you need 3 days to recover from one phone call. This is why your blood pressure spikes when you see their name on your caller ID. It's not anxiety. It's your spirit recognizing spiritual warfare. Because make no mistake, beloved, keeping them in your life is warfare every single day. They pull you backward when God is pulling you forward. They resurrect old wounds when God is trying to pour new wine. They remind you of who you used to be when heaven is revealing who you're becoming. You're dragging a winter person into your spring assignment. And God is saying, enough, no more. Not in this season. Not when I'm about to release what I've been holding back for decades. But here's the part that might cut deepest. That person? They've been keeping you emotionally hostage. You keep hoping they'll change. You keep believing this time will be different. You keep giving them one more chance because you remember who they used to be, or who you thought they were, or who they promised they'd become. But chosen one, you can't heal in the same environment that made you sick. Read that again. You cannot heal in the same environment that made you sick. A hospital doesn't keep the infection in the room while treating the patient. A gardener doesn't leave the diseased branch on the tree while expecting healthy fruit. A surgeon doesn't close the wound with the tumor still inside. So why are you trying to grow while they're still poisoning your soil? God is removing them, not because He's cruel, but because He's precise. He knows exactly what November needs to look like for December to deliver. He knows exactly who cannot be in the room when your next blessing arrives. He knows exactly which voice will try to talk you out of your Isaac, your Red Sea crossing, your promised land. And He loves you too much to let them steal it again. 1 Corinthians 15:33 doesn't stutter. Bad company corrupts good character. The Greek word for corrupts means to utterly destroy, to ruin completely, not gradually harm, utterly destroy. Your character, your calling, your confidence, your clarity, all of it gets systematically destroyed by the wrong companionship. How much of yourself have you already lost, trying to love someone who refuses to be loved in healthy ways? You've given them your time when God needed your attention. You've given them your peace when heaven was offering you rest. You've given them your final years when the Almighty was calling you to your finest hours. But November is the month of severance. November is when God performs divine surgery. November is when heaven says, I need you lighter, I need you clearer, I need you free. So let me ask you something that's going to shake you to your core. What if the person God is removing has been the answer to a prayer you stopped praying? What if you begged Him years ago to deliver you, and He's been waiting for you to be strong enough to let go? What if their exit isn't your loss, it's your liberation? Say it out loud right now, wherever you are. Lord, give me strength to release what blocks me. Because, beloved, the next season of your life requires a lighter load, and some people were never meant to make the journey. But who exactly is this person, and how will you know when God makes His move? Listen to me carefully, chosen one. What's about to happen at the end of November won't look like what you expect. It won't be dramatic. It won't be loud. God doesn't operate like a Hollywood movie with explosions and screaming matches. No, beloved. When the Almighty decides to remove someone from your life, He does it with surgical precision, and it will happen in one of 5 ways. The first way God removes them is through sudden emotional clarity. You'll wake up one morning, maybe it's November 28th, maybe it's the 30th, and something inside you will just know. That fog you've been living in for years, gone. That confusion about whether you should keep trying, vanished. You'll look at your phone and see their name, and instead of that familiar ache, instead of that desperate need to fix things, you'll feel nothing. Peace. Cold, clear, undeniable peace. It's like scales falling from your eyes. 2 Corinthians 3:16 says, But when one turns to the Lord, the veil is removed. God will lift the veil you didn't even know was there. Suddenly you'll see what everyone else has been seeing for years. The manipulation, the taking, the one-sided nature of everything you've been calling love. But here's what terrifies most people about this moment. You won't be able to go back. Once God gives you that clarity, you can't unsee it. You can't unfeel it. And that's exactly the point. The second way is through an exposed truth. November will bring revelations, dear one. That person you've been defending, that family member you've been making excuses for, God is about to pull back the curtain. Maybe you'll overhear a conversation you weren't supposed to hear. Maybe someone else will finally tell you what they've been holding back for years. Maybe you'll discover text messages or witness behavior that can no longer be denied. Proverbs 26:26 warns us, Though their hatred is covered by deception, Their wickedness will be exposed in the assembly. God doesn't need your permission to reveal what's been hidden. He'll expose it in His timing. And November is your appointed time. Think about how many years you've suspected something was wrong, but talked yourself out of it. How many times your gut screamed danger, while your heart begged for one more chance. God is about to vindicate your intuition. And when that truth comes to light, you won't be able to pretend anymore. The third way God removes them is through distance or silence. This one's subtle, but devastating in its effectiveness. They'll stop calling, stop texting, stop showing up. At first, you'll panic. You'll reach out. You'll try to bridge the gap like you always have. But this time, beloved, something will be different. This time, your efforts will feel hollow, empty. Like you're trying to resuscitate something that's already dead. And slowly, so slowly, you almost don't notice you'll stop trying too. The silence that once terrified you will become your sanctuary. Psalm 46:10 commands us, "Be still and know that I am God." In that stillness, in that silence, you'll finally hear what God's been trying to tell you all along. The fourth way is through a conversation that reveals their true intentions. November will bring words that can't be taken back. Maybe it's an argument. Maybe it's a moment of brutal honesty. Maybe they'll finally say what they've been thinking all along, and you'll realize they never saw you the way you saw them. They never valued what you gave. They never intended to change. Jesus Himself experienced this. In John 6:66, after He spoke hard truths, many of His disciples turned back and no longer followed Him. Even the Son of God wasn't spared from people walking away when the relationship no longer served them. If Jesus experienced abandonment, why do you think you're exempt? But here's the mercy in it. When they finally show you who they really are, believe them. Don't explain it away. Don't make excuses. Don't rewrite history to make them better than they've proven to be. The fifth way God removes them is through a situation that forces separation. A move, a job change, a health crisis. Circumstances beyond anyone's control that create unavoidable distance. You'll look back and see God's hand orchestrating what you were too afraid to choose for yourself. Romans 8:28 promises, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him." All things, beloved, even the painful separations, even the relationships that end, even the November you thought would break you. But listen to me, and this is critical, this separation will not destroy you, it will restore you. Every ounce of energy you've been pouring into that broken relationship, it's about to be returned to you. Every prayer you've wasted asking God to change them, it's about to be redirected toward your actual purpose. Every tear you've cried over someone who doesn't deserve your heart, it's been stored in heaven's bottles, and the recompense is coming. Because here's what nobody tells you about divine removal. When they leave, something else enters your life instantly. Not someday, not eventually, instantly. New peace, new clarity, new relationships that actually pour back into you instead of just taking. God will close the curtain on a chapter you were too afraid to end. And when that curtain closes, you'll finally see what's been waiting in the wings all along. If you've ever watched God separate you from danger, if you've ever looked back and realized He was protecting you from something that looked like loss, but was actually deliverance type right now. He protected me, because what's coming in the final days of November isn't punishment. It's not cruel. It's not random. It's the answer to every prayer you've prayed through tears, asking God to make it make sense. But the question that will haunt you if you don't listen is this: when God removes them, will you let them go? Or will you fight heaven's intervention and force yourself to carry what God already released? Listen to me, chosen one. I need you to understand something that's going to shatter every fear you've been carrying about this November separation. You think you're losing someone. But what if I told you that God never empties your hands unless He's about to fill them with something sacred? You've spent decades, maybe 50, 60, 70 years, holding on to relationships that were slowly poisoning you. That adult child who only calls when they need money. That so-called friend who disappeared the moment you got the cancer diagnosis. That sibling who's been draining your retirement fund with their constant crises. You've held on because you thought letting go would leave you alone. Empty, forgotten in your final years. But here's the truth that's burning in my spirit right now. The person God removes is always replaced by the person God sends. Do you hear me? Always. Not sometimes. Not maybe. Always. Think about Abraham. Genesis 12 tells us God said, "Leave your country, your people, and your father's household." Everything familiar, everyone comfortable. God asked him to release it all at 75 years old. 75. When most people are settling into their golden years, God was asking Abraham to let go of his entire world. Why? Because God was about to give him nations. You can't inherit the promise while you're still clutching the past. Abraham had to release Lot before he could receive Isaac. The nephew who caused nothing but problems had to go before the son of promise could come. That's not cruelty, that's divine strategy. Right now, some of you are thinking, "But I'm 82, my life is almost over. What new beginning could possibly be left for me?" Stop right there. That lie is straight from hell. You are not too old for a new beginning. God saves the sweetest chapters for last. Look at Moses. 80 years old when the burning bush spoke his name. 80. He'd spent 40 years thinking he was somebody in Pharaoh's palace, 40 years thinking he was nobody in the desert. But at 80, God said, "Now you're ready. Now I can use you." The greatest deliverance in human history came through a man the world would have put in a nursing home. Sarah was 90 when she gave birth to Isaac. 90. Her womb had been dead for decades. But God specializes in bringing life from death, hope from hopelessness, and new beginnings from what looks like the end. Here's what God is doing in your life right now. He's removing the thorn so he can plant a garden. He's extracting the infection so healing can finally come. That person who's leaving, they were blocking the very blessing you've been praying for. How many times have you cried out, "God, why won't you heal this relationship?" But what if the relationship itself is the sickness? What if God's been waiting for you to release them so he can release what he's been holding for you? After the removal comes the replacement. After the pruning comes the harvest. After the death comes the resurrection. What's God bringing after this November separation? Let me tell you what I'm seeing in the spirit. A new relationship marked by peace, not the exhausting, one-sided, soul-draining connections you've tolerated for years, but genuine, life-giving friendship. The kind where phone calls don't leave you anxious, where visits don't require 3 days of recovery, where love flows both ways. A revived calling. That dream you buried at 65 because life got too hard. That ministry you abandoned because toxic people drained all your energy. It's coming back. God's been preserving it, protecting it, preparing to resurrect it the moment the dead weight is removed. Emotional healing you've been begging for. How many nights have you laid awake replaying conversations, trying to figure out what you did wrong, why they don't love you the way you love them? That torment ends in November. The person leaving is taking their chaos with them. And into that silence, God is pouring peace that surpasses understanding. Spiritual clarity. Right now, your discernment is clouded because you're so close to someone who's spiritually toxic. When they leave, it's like scales falling from your eyes. Suddenly you'll see clearly, pray clearly, hear God clearly. The fog lifts when the poison exits. Joy, real joy. Not the fake smile you wear at family gatherings, not the forced happiness when they finally show up 3 hours late, but the deep, unshakable joy that comes from knowing you're finally free to be exactly who God created you to be. And here's the most beautiful part, a new identity chapter. You thought your story was done, you thought you'd written your final page, but God's saying, "I'm not finished with you yet. The person I'm removing was the last obstacle to your greatest season. Proverbs 4:18 says, "The path of the righteous is like the morning sun, shining ever brighter till the full light of day." Not dimmer, brighter. Your 70s, 80s, 90s, these aren't your sunset years. These are your sunrise years. The best light is still ahead, but you have to let go of what's behind to receive what's ahead. You have to release the wrong person to receive the right blessing. You have to trust that God's removal is actually God's protection. He empties your hands only to fill them with something sacred. So let me ask you this: are you ready? Are you ready to stop fighting for relationships God never blessed? Are you ready to release who needs to go so you can receive who needs to come? Are you ready for the divine exchange? If you're ready, if something in your spirit is saying, "Yes, Lord, I'm ready," write it in the comments right now. I'm ready, Lord. Let heaven see your surrender. Let the angels record your agreement, because what's coming after November isn't loss, it's liberation. And what God has prepared for your final chapters will make you grateful for every person He removed along the way. But here's what you need to understand about why this removal is happening specifically in November, and why the timing matters more than you realize. Chosen one, when God removes someone, the air around you changes before the person ever leaves. You felt it, haven't you? That strange stillness that settled over your home last week. You walked into your living room, the same living room where arguments used to echo off the walls, and something was different. The heaviness was gone. The tension that used to sit on your chest like a stone had lifted. You couldn't explain it. You didn't tell anyone. But you knew. That wasn't your imagination, beloved. That was the atmosphere shifting. Let me tell you what's happening in the invisible realm while you're sitting there thinking you're losing your mind. When God prepares to remove someone from your life, He doesn't announce it with trumpets. He whispers it to your spirit first. He changes the frequency of the air you breathe. He adjusts the temperature of your peace. And if you're truly chosen, if you're truly marked by heaven, you'll sense it before you see it. Think about that morning last Tuesday. You woke up at 5 a.m. like you always do, made your coffee, sat in your usual chair by the window. But something was different. The silence wasn't lonely anymore. It was sacred. The solitude you'd been running from for decades suddenly felt like sanctuary. You looked at your phone, no messages from that person who usually demands your attention, and instead of anxiety, you felt relief. That's the shift, dear one. That's heaven recalibrating your spiritual atmosphere. The Bible tells us in Job 22:21, "Acquaint now thyself with him, and be at peace. Thereby good shall come unto thee." Peace isn't just an emotion, it's an atmospheric condition. It's the evidence that God is rearranging the spiritual furniture of your life. And when that peace comes unexplained, unearned, unexpected, it's because something toxic is being removed from your environment. You'll feel it before you see it. You'll know before you understand. Your spirit hears the footsteps of heaven long before your ears do. But here's what breaks my heart. So many of you have been feeling this shift for weeks now, and you've been fighting it. You've been trying to hold on to relationships God is trying to pry from your fingers. You wake up feeling lighter, and you guilt yourself back into heaviness. You experience supernatural peace about letting someone go, and you convince yourself you're being selfish. Stop, right now. Stop. When Exodus 14:14 declares, "The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace." Do you know what that really means? It means when God is moving on your behalf, your job isn't to struggle, your job isn't to force. Your job isn't to manipulate circumstances back into your control. Your job is to feel the shift and trust it. That strange lightness in your chest when you think about Thanksgiving dinner without them this year. That's not coldness, that's freedom knocking. That absence of emotional turbulence when their name doesn't light up your phone. That's not apathy, that's answered prayer. That sudden quiet in your home that used to terrify you, that's not loneliness. That's the sound of God making room for what He's about to bring. The shift is the first sign that the separation is already happening in the spiritual realm. Let me paint you a picture. Right now, at this very moment, there are angels in your home. Not the cute, chubby cherubs from greeting cards. I'm talking about warrior angels, assignment angels, separation angels. They're moving through your relationships like divine auditors, marking what stays and what goes. And that person, the one God is removing, they're already being escorted out in the spirit. The physical separation you're about to witness is just the manifestation of what's already been decreed in heaven. You think you're waiting for them to change, but God stopped waiting years ago. Listen to me carefully. In 2 Corinthians 6:17, the Lord declares, "Come out from among them, and be ye separate, saith the Lord, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you." This isn't a suggestion. This isn't spiritual advice for people who feel like it. This is a divine command with a divine promise attached. When you separate from what contaminates you, God receives you. When you let go of who's been draining you, heaven opens its arms. But you have to feel the shift and cooperate with it. Some of you right now are sitting in that sacred morning quiet, that unexplained peace, that lightness you haven't felt in decades, and you're already planning how to sabotage it. You're already reaching for your phone to text them. You're already rehearsing the conversation that will pull them back in. You're already second-guessing the very peace God is giving you as confirmation. Don't you dare trade heaven's gift for hell's familiar. You'll feel it before you see it. You'll know before you understand. Your spirit hears the footsteps of heaven long before your ears do. And when this shift comes, when you finally stop resisting it and start receiving it, something extraordinary will follow. Something you've been praying for, something you've been waiting for, something that couldn't enter your life because there was no room, because the wrong person was taking up space reserved for the right blessing. The atmosphere is shifting right now. Can you feel it? That holy unrest, that divine disturbance. That's not anxiety, that's anticipation. That's your spirit recognizing that the season of carrying dead weight is over. If you've ever felt the atmosphere change before life changed, if you've ever known something was shifting before you could explain it, comment right now. Yes, Lord, I remember. Let heaven see that you're paying attention. Let the angels know you're ready. Because what comes after the shift will prove why the removal was necessary. Listen to me, chosen one. Before God removes the wrong person from your life, He sends a final whisper, a last mercy moment. Not because He needs your permission, but because He honors the free will He gave you 70, 80, 90 years ago when you took your first breath. You've felt it, haven't you? That disturbing dream last week where you saw yourself walking away from someone, and when you woke up your pillow was wet with tears you don't remember crying. That conversation 3 days ago that felt heavier than it should have when simple words carried the weight of decades. That moment of sudden clarity in your kitchen when you were making coffee and something in your spirit whispered, "This isn't right anymore." These aren't coincidences. These are divine interruptions. God is speaking. The question is whether you're finally ready to listen. You know what breaks my heart? I've counseled enough seniors in New York to fill Yankee Stadium twice over, and the one thing I hear more than anything else is this: "Pastor, I knew years ago something was wrong, but I stayed anyway." Why? Why do we ignore the red flags God waves right in front of our faces? Why do we silence the Holy Spirit when He's practically shouting our name? Because you're terrified of being alone. There it is. The truth nobody wants to say out loud in church. You've stayed in toxic relationships, enabled destructive adult children, carried friends who drained you dry not because God told you to, but because the thought of eating dinner by yourself one more night felt worse than the abuse. But beloved, let me tell you something that's going to cut deep. Some people stay in your life because you're afraid of loneliness, not because they're aligned with God's purpose for you. Proverbs 13:20 doesn't stutter. Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. The Bible doesn't say tolerate fools or enable fools, or sacrifice your peace for fools. It says their companionship brings harm. Present tense, active harm, right now. You've ignored warnings before, haven't you? That time in 1987 when your gut told you something was off, but you pushed it down. That moment in 2003 when God clearly said distance yourself, but you felt guilty. That season in 2015 when every fiber of your being screamed enough, but you convinced yourself that real Christians don't give up on people. And here you are, November 2025. Still carrying the same weight, still making excuses for the same person, still bleeding from the same wound that never heals because you keep reopening it. But this time, heaven won't let you miss the signal. You want to know how I know? Because you're still watching this video. Because something in your spirit recognized the title before your mind could rationalize it away. Because right now, even as I'm speaking these words, you feel that uncomfortable stirring in your chest, that holy disruption that comes when God is about to do surgery on your soul. That heaviness you've been carrying for the past 2 weeks, that's not depression. That's the weight of divine preparation. God is getting you ready for the removal, and your spirit knows it before your mind can accept it. Think about Abraham. Genesis 12:1 records God's command. Leave your country, your people, and your father's household, and go to the land I will show you. Notice what God asked him to leave: his people, his father's household. The very relationships that defined him. Why? Because where God was taking him, those connections would have anchored him to the past instead of launching him into his future. You're in your Abraham moment right now. God is about to remove someone not because he's cruel, but because he loves you too much to let you die, surrounded by people who were never meant to walk with you into your final season. He's cutting away the branch that's been stealing nutrients from the fruit. He's trying to grow in you. But here's what most people miss. The warning always comes before the separation. Always. God never moves without mercy. He never closes a door without first knocking on your heart and saying, I'm about to do something. Will you trust me? That memory that resurfaced yesterday, the one from 15 years ago, when you first realized this person was toxic, that wasn't random. That was God saying, remember when I showed you the truth? I'm showing you again. That sudden emotional heaviness when their name pops up on your phone, that knot in your stomach, that sinking feeling, that instant dread, that's not anxiety, that's discernment. That's your spirit, recognizing what your loyalty has been denying. And the moment you finally obey this warning, the moment you stop fighting the divine removal, the moment you release what God is prying from your grip, that's when the November blessing begins. Not the loss, the liberation, not the ending, the elevation, not the separation, the salvation of your remaining years. 1 Corinthians 15:33 warns us, do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. You've spent decades thinking your goodness could transform their badness, but corruption doesn't work that way. It flows downhill. And you're exhausted because you've been trying to push poison uphill for 20, 30, 40 years. God's final warning isn't a threat. It's an invitation to finally be free, to finally breathe, to finally live your last chapter without carrying someone else's chaos. If this is resonating in your spirit right now, if you feel exposed, convicted, seen, type in the comments, Lord, help me hear you. Because what comes next will show you exactly who this person is and why God chose November to set you free. You know what breaks my heart? It's watching God's chosen ones, people in their 70s, 80s, 90s, still bleeding from wounds they received 40 years ago, still carrying the weight of someone who stopped caring decades back, still hoping that maybe, just maybe, if they pray one more time, that person will finally change. But chosen one, what if God never intended for you to carry them into your final season? What if the weight crushing your chest isn't a cross He asked you to bear? It's a burden He's been waiting for permission to remove. Listen to me carefully. This November, God becomes the surgeon. and you become the patient of his mercy. Think about that image for a moment. When you go under the knife in a hospital, what's the first thing that happens? They put you to sleep. Why? Because the human body can't stay conscious during that level of intervention. The pain would be too much. The shock would kill you. But here's what most people don't understand about divine surgery. God has been preparing the anesthesia for months. Every unanswered text, every forgotten birthday, every time they chose everyone else but you. That wasn't abandonment, dear one. That was God slowly numbing you to the removal that's coming. You see, spiritual surgery isn't like physical surgery. God doesn't just remove a person from your life. He removes what that person planted in you. The fear, the guilt, the shame, the voice in your head that whispers, "You're not enough, you're too much, you're too old to matter anymore." 2 Corinthians 10:5 tells us to cast down imaginations and every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of God. But how do you cast down thoughts that have lived rent-free in your mind for 30 years? How do you evict voices that moved in before you even knew you had the authority to say no? God cuts. That's how. He cuts away the attachment you formed with someone who was never meant to stay. He cuts away the people-pleasing that's been draining your life force since 1985. He cuts away the emotional dependence that made you believe you couldn't survive without their approval, their presence, their crumbs of affection. And I know what you're thinking right now. You're thinking about that person. You can see their face. You're wondering if it's really them God is talking about. Your daughter, who only calls when she needs money. Your sister, who's been jealous of you for 43 years. Your so-called best friend who disappeared the moment your husband died. That church member who smiled to your face and stabbed you in the back. But here's what's sacred about this moment. God isn't asking for your permission to cut. He's asking for your surrender to the healing. You've carried emotional wounds for 20, 30, 40 years. Wounds that never properly closed because the person who inflicted them kept reopening them. Every holiday gathering, every forced smile. Every time you swallowed your pain to keep the peace. But this November, God is closing them. Finally, permanently, supernaturally. He cuts away the diseased tissue of false obligation. He cleanses the infection of manipulation. He closes the wound of rejection. He heals the trauma of being unseen. He restores the years the locust has eaten. Do you hear that? He cuts, he cleanses, he closes, he heals, he restores. This isn't just poetry, beloved. This is prophecy. This is the divine procedure you've been begging for without knowing how to name it. Think about Abraham. God told him in Genesis 12:1, "Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house. Leave your family. Leave the people you've known your whole life." But Abraham obeyed, and that obedience birthed nations. Think about Ruth. She had to let go of her entire identity, her homeland, her people, her gods to step into her destiny. And that surrender led her straight into the lineage of Jesus Christ. Think about the Apostle Paul. Before he could become Paul, he had to let God cut away Saul. The old connections, the old reputation, the old way of relating to people. And that divine surgery transformed a murderer into a messenger. What if God is doing the same thing with you right now? What if the person he's removing isn't the tragedy, they're the miracle of finally being free, the miracle of finally breathing without their weight on your chest, the miracle of finally living the last chapter of your life without carrying the dead weight of their dysfunction. But here's what you need to understand. After the surgery comes the recovery period, and this is where most people stumble. This is where the enemy whispers, "Go back, reach out, give them one more chance." This is where your flesh screams, "But what if I'm alone? What if nobody's left?" And God says, "I'm left, and I'm more than enough." Psalm 147:3 declares, "He healeth the broken in heart, and bindeth up their wounds." But you can't bind what you won't release. You can't heal what you keep reopening. So right now, before we go any deeper, I need you to make a decision. Are you going to trust the surgeon? Are you going to let him remove what's been poisoning you? Are you going to surrender to the spiritual surgery that will save your final years? If yes, if something in your spirit is saying, Lord, I'm ready, then type these 4 words in the comments. Lord, make me whole, because what happens after the surgery will determine whether you spend your remaining years in freedom or in regret. Listen to me carefully, dear one. When God removes someone from your life at the end of this November, the hardest part isn't the goodbye, it's what comes after. It's the silence that follows. It's waking up on December 1st and reaching for your phone to call them, then remembering. It's setting one less place at the table. It's the empty chair at Christmas dinner that screams louder than any argument ever did. You will feel hollow, scraped out, like someone reached into your chest and removed something vital. But I need you to understand something that will change everything. That emptiness is not loneliness. That void is not abandonment. That hollow place inside you is not evidence that God has forgotten you. It's room, sacred room, room that God himself is preparing for his next blessing. You see, for 70, 80, 90 years, you've been a giver. You raised children who grew up and forgot to call. You built a marriage that maybe crumbled, or maybe you buried the love of your life, and half of you went into that ground with them. You poured yourself into friendships that turned out to be one-way streets. You gave and gave and gave until there was nothing left but exhaustion and the haunting question, God, when is it my turn to receive? This is your turn. But here's what most people don't understand about divine recovery. God can't fill a cup that's already full of toxic relationships, draining obligations, and people who take but never give back. He can't pour his new wine into old wineskins. Matthew 9:17 says it plainly, neither do people pour new wine into old wineskins. If they do, the skins will burst, the wine will run out, and the wineskins will be ruined. That person God is removing. They're the old wineskin. And what he's about to pour into your life is so pure, so powerful, so precisely designed for this season that it would have been wasted, contaminated, or stolen if that person had remained. Think about a field after harvest. It looks dead, doesn't it? Barren, empty, nothing growing. But ask any farmer in upstate New York what that field is really doing. It's resting. It's recovering. Nutrients are being restored to the soil. The earth is preparing for next season's abundance. What looks like death is actually preparation for life. That's you right now. You're not dying. You're resting after a lifetime of harvest. Or think about the night sky just before dawn. It's the darkest hour, isn't it? 3, 4 in the morning when you can't sleep, when the loneliness feels like it's going to crush your chest, when you wonder if the sun will ever rise again. But that darkness, it's not permanent, it's positional. You're not in endless night. You're in the final hour before breakthrough. Psalm 30:5 promises you this. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Your night is almost over, chosen one. Your morning is coming. But here's where most people miss their miracle. They try to rush the recovery. They try to fill the empty space immediately with someone new, something loud, anything to drown out the silence. They go back to toxic relationships because familiar pain feels safer than unknown healing. They apologize to people God already dismissed. They unlock doors God locked with his own hand. Don't you dare do that. When God removes someone, he needs you to sit still long enough to let the healing settle deep into your bones. He needs you quiet enough to hear his voice without interference. He needs you empty enough that when he pours, there's room to receive everything he's been holding back. Isaiah 30:15 says, "In quietness and trust is your strength, not in activity." Not in filling every moment with noise and distraction. In quietness, in the sacred pause between what was and what will be. I know it's hard. I know you're used to being busy, being needed, being useful. I know retirement already made you feel invisible, and now losing this person makes you feel like you're fading completely. But what if I told you that this fading is actually God turning down the volume of everything else so you can finally hear Him clearly? What if this removal is the answer to that prayer you prayed 40 years ago when you whispered, "God, I just want to know you more"? What if He's been waiting decades to have you all to Himself, but you were too busy, too loyal to the wrong people, too afraid to let go? You've poured into others your whole life. You've been the strong one, the reliable one, the one everyone calls when they need something but no one checks on when you're hurting. You've given until your well ran dry, and then somehow found more to give. Now God says, "Enough. Sit down. Let me fill you. Let me restore you. Let me pour into you everything I've been holding in reserve for this exact moment when you finally had space to receive it." What God fills this space with will be greater than what was taken. Not just different, greater, more pure, more powerful, more aligned with your true purpose. The relationship that's ending was blocking the blessing that's beginning. But you have to trust the process. You have to honor the recovery period. You have to let the field rest. Let the night pass. Let the emptiness be what it is. Preparation. If you're ready for God to fill you again, if you're willing to stop running from the silence and start resting in it, type right now, "Fill me, Lord." Let heaven know you're finally ready to receive what you've been giving away for decades. Because what's coming next will show you exactly what God has been preparing in the silence. You've been asking God the wrong question, haven't you? You've been begging Him to fix the person who keeps breaking you. You've been praying for them to change, to see you, to finally love you the way you've loved them. But chosen one, what if God's been answering a different prayer? What if He's been saying, "I'm not fixing them. I'm sending you someone better"? Listen to me carefully. God never removes without replacing, and His replacement always carries peace. You think you're losing someone in November, but what you're actually receiving is the answer to every silent prayer you whispered when you thought no one was listening. Every time you sat alone on your birthday wondering why they didn't call. Every holiday you spent making excuses for their absence. Every hospital visit where you looked at the empty chair beside your bed. God was listening. God was planning. God was preparing someone. Not just anyone, the right one. Do you remember the story of Ruth? She lost her husband. Everything secure in her life crumbled. But she stayed faithful, kept moving forward, kept serving. And what did God do? He sent Boaz. Not just any man, a man of integrity, a man of provision. A man who saw her worth when everyone else saw her as a poor foreign widow. Ruth 2:12 records Boaz speaking over her, "May the Lord repay you for what you have done. May you be richly rewarded by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge." That's what's coming for you. Someone who sees your worth. Someone who recognizes what you've survived. Someone who honors the years you've walked with God when the path was dark and steep. But let me tell you exactly who this person is. Because heaven doesn't send accidents, heaven sends appointments. God is sending someone steady, not someone who shows up only when they need something from you. Not someone whose love depends on your bank account or what you can do for them. Someone who shows up on Tuesday afternoons just to check on you. Someone whose presence doesn't drain you, it restores you. God is sending someone reliable, someone who keeps their word, someone who says they'll call and actually calls, someone who promises to visit and shows up at your door. You've lived long enough to know how rare this is. You've been disappointed so many times, you stopped expecting people to follow through. But this person, they will shock you with their consistency. God is sending someone who speaks life, not criticism, not constant complaints about everything you're doing wrong, not reminders of your age or your limitations. This person will speak hope over you. They will see the gold underneath your scars. They will remind you that your best days aren't behind you, they're being birthed right now. God is sending someone who respects you, someone who doesn't roll their eyes when you share wisdom, someone who doesn't dismiss your decades of experience as outdated. Someone who actually asks for your advice and then takes it. Someone who understands that gray hair is a crown of glory earned through fire. God is sending someone who brings peace, not chaos. No more walking on eggshells wondering what mood they'll be in. No more phone calls that leave you anxious for days. No more relationships where you give everything and receive only demands. This person enters your atmosphere and everything settles. Your heart rate slows, your shoulders drop. You can finally breathe. God is sending someone who honors your age and wisdom. Someone who doesn't see you as a burden but as a blessing. Someone who recognizes that you've earned every wrinkle through battles they'll never understand. Someone who treats you the way you deserve to be treated all along. Let that sink into the broken places. The way you deserve to be treated all along. Not the leftovers, not the scraps, not the bare minimum. The honor, the respect, the love that costs something to give. Think about how Jesus replaced Judas. 30 pieces of silver bought betrayal. But after the resurrection, Jesus didn't leave that spot empty. He sent Paul, a persecutor transformed into the greatest apostle. Someone who would write 2/3 of the New Testament. Someone who would suffer shipwrecks and beatings and imprisonment and never stop preaching the gospel. God's replacements are always better than what you lost. You'll recognize this person by one undeniable sign: peace. Peace in their voice when they call. Peace in their presence when they sit beside you. Peace in their spirit that you can feel before they even speak. 1 Corinthians 14:33 declares, "For God is not a God of disorder, but of peace." Whatever God sends carries his nature. Peace in their voice, not sharp edges, not hidden agendas, not manipulation disguised as concern, just peace. Peace in their presence. Your blood pressure doesn't spike, your anxiety doesn't flare, your guard doesn't go up, just peace. Peace in their spirit. You sense it in their eyes, in their smile, in the way they move through the world. They're not performing, they're not pretending, they're just genuinely, authentically at peace. And that peace becomes contagious. Some of you are crying right now because you've forgotten what peace feels like. You've lived in relational warfare for so long that you don't remember what it's like to simply rest in someone's company. But that's coming, beloved. That's what November's removal is making room for. God is clearing the table. He's evicting the tenant who's been occupying space that belongs to someone else. He's making room at your table, in your heart, in your life, for the person he handpicked just for you. But there is one more revelation. One final November mystery that will explain everything. Because God's not just removing one person and sending another. He's revealing something about your destiny that changes everything you thought you knew about your final years. If you're ready for God's replacement blessing, if you're ready to stop fighting for people who won't fight for you, if you're ready to receive what heaven has been holding in reserve, comment right now. Send them, Lord. Because what I'm about to tell you next will shatter every lie you've believed about your worth and your future. Listen to me very carefully, chosen one. At the end of November, two things appear in the spirit realm. Two things that will determine whether you spend your remaining years trapped in what was or liberated into what's meant to be. A door and a key. You can't see them with your natural eyes, but your spirit already knows they're there. That restlessness you've been feeling, that strange anticipation mixed with dread, that's your soul recognizing what's coming. The door represents God's next chapter for your life. But here's what's going to shake you to your core. You thought your story was almost over, didn't you? You thought at 75, at 82, at 68, that you were just marking time until heaven called you home. You thought the best chapters were behind you, locked in memories of when you were younger, stronger, more relevant. But God is saying something that will shatter that lie. The door I'm opening now leads to the chapter you were born to live. Not the chapter you stumbled through in your youth. Not the chapter you survived in your middle years. The chapter you were born to live. The one he's been preparing since before you took your first breath. Think about Moses, 80 years old when God called him to the burning bush. 80. He'd spent 40 years thinking he was somebody in Pharaoh's palace, 40 years thinking he was nobody in the wilderness, and then God said, "Now you're ready for your real assignment." Exodus 7:7 tells us plainly, Moses was 80 years old, and Aaron 83 when they spoke to Pharaoh. Or consider Sarah. Genesis 21:5 records that Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born to him. 100. And Sarah was 90. They weren't winding down, they were being wound up for the miracle that would birth nations. Your age isn't your limitation. It's your qualification. Because what God is about to do through you requires the wisdom that only comes from decades of walking with Him through valleys and mountaintops. But here's the tension that's going to grip your heart right now. That door, that beautiful, terrifying door into your greatest chapter, it will not open until the separation is complete. Do you understand what I'm telling you? The person God is removing at the end of November isn't just leaving your life. They're the final obstacle between you and your destiny. They're the last weight keeping that door sealed shut. They're the reason you felt stuck, suffocated, unable to move forward into what God has been whispering about for years. You've been praying for breakthrough. You've been begging God to open new doors. But He's been saying, "I can't give you the new until you release the old. I can't bring you into freedom while you're still chained to someone I never called you to carry." The key is where it gets supernatural. The key is obedience. But not just any obedience, specific obedience. Surrendered obedience. The kind that says, "God, even though this person is my son, my daughter, my lifelong friend, my sister, if you're removing them, I will not fight you. I will not manipulate the situation. I will not guilt them into staying. I will not chase what you're cutting away." Here's the revelation that should stop you in your tracks. The key only turns when you release the person God is removing. You've been holding on with white knuckles, haven't you? Holding on to the relationship that drains you. Holding on to the family member who only calls when they need money. Holding on to the friend who disappeared during your cancer treatments but reappeared when you got the inheritance. Holding on because you're afraid of being alone, afraid of being forgotten, afraid that if you let them go, no one else will come. But God is whispering something you need to hear. What I have waiting behind that door is worth more than what you're afraid of losing. In John 12:24, Jesus said, "Unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds." The seed has to fall. The old has to die. The separation has to happen, not for death's sake, but for multiplication's sake. You're not losing someone in November. You're being positioned for the harvest God has been preparing your entire life. But that key is in your hand right now. God won't force you to turn it. He won't override your will. He'll remove the person. Yes, circumstances will shift, distances will grow, the relationship will dissolve. But whether you walk through that door in peace or spend your remaining years bitter and resentful, that's determined by whether you use the key of obedience, the key of trust, the key of saying, "God, your will, not mine, your timing, not my desperation, your wisdom, not my fear." I need you to see something that will change everything. Behind that door isn't just relief from a toxic relationship. Behind that door is the assignment you've been prepared for, the ministry that needs your testimony, the grandchild who needs your wisdom, the neighbor who needs your prayers, the legacy that needs your surrender. Behind that door is the reason you survived everything that should have killed you, the reason you're still here when others have gone home, the reason God has preserved you, protected you, refined you through 7 decades of fire. If you will walk through that door, if you will take the key of obedience and turn it with trembling hands and a trusting heart, write these 4 words right now. I choose the door, because the separation is coming whether you're ready or not. But the door only opens for those brave enough to use the key. Chosen one, as we come to the end of this sacred moment together, I need you to hold 3 eternal truths close to your heart. First, The person God is removing from your life at the end of November isn't being taken as punishment, they're being removed as protection. What feels like loss is actually liberation. What looks like an ending is actually a doorway. Second, the door and the key are real. Behind that door is the chapter you were born to live, not the leftovers of your story, but the culmination of everything God has been preparing through 70, 80, 90 years of refining fire. Your age is not your limitation. It's your coronation. Third, the key only turns when you surrender. When you release who God is removing with open hands and a trusting heart, that's when heaven moves. But beloved, hear me clearly, you are not walking this path alone. Right now, as these words settle into your spirit, the God who numbers every hair on your head is working behind the scenes of your life. He's orchestrating the separation. He's positioning the door. He's preparing what's on the other side. And he will not abandon you in the threshold. Beyond that, you have a family here. Thousands of believers in this community who understand the ache of letting go, who've walked through their own November separations, who are ready to lift you up in prayer when your hands grow weary. You are not alone in this sacred sorrow. You are surrounded by a cloud of witnesses who are believing with you for what God is about to do. So let me ask you this final question, and let it echo in your spirit long after this video ends. If God is removing one person to give you access to your greatest chapter, will you trust him enough to let go? Before you leave, let me place my hand on your shoulder through these words and pray over you with everything in me. Heavenly Father, I lift up every precious soul hearing this message. You know their name, you know their pain, you know the person they're about to release. Lord, give them supernatural strength for the separation that's coming. When November ends and that door swings open, steady their steps, quiet their fears, silence every voice of regret and doubt. God, bless their remaining years with purpose that burns brighter than their past. Provide for every need, financial, physical, emotional, spiritual. Send divine connections to replace what you're removing. Let them feel your presence so powerfully in the empty spaces that they never question your goodness. Protect them from bitterness, shield them from isolation, surround them with your peace that surpasses understanding. And when they're tempted to reach back for what you've cut away, remind them of the door, the key, and the chapter waiting on the other side. In Jesus' name, let this be their season of liberation, not loss, their moment of coronation, not conclusion. Amen. Now, I want to hear from you. In the comments below, share what God spoke to your heart today. Tell us who you're believing God will remove with grace. Ask for prayer, this community will surround you. And if this message awakened something in your spirit, share it with someone who needs to know they're not alone in their November separation. Thank you for staying with me through this entire journey. Thank you for trusting me with your time, your attention, your tender heart. If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications because God has more to say to his chosen ones, and I don't want you to miss a single word. The door is waiting, the key is in your hand, and your greatest chapter begins the moment you're brave enough to walk through. Until we meet again, may you walk in the peace of knowing that what God removes, he replaces with something far greater. God bless you, chosen one. Your November miracle is coming.